So first, happy Hanukkah to everyone. I'll say a short word. I was told this a kail evening, so it's a little taira, really a little serious taira. Right. So there's a question that's asked: how were the Yidden allowed to sacrifice themselves when the halacha, Jewish law, dictates that only there are 3 mitzvahs that you're allowed to give up your life for? Otherwise, you have to commit the sin and continue living and not allow yourself to die. Right? There's 3 mitzvahs, yarug al yaver. Allow yourself to be killed, al yaver. Don't desecrate. Right? But otherwise, and a rabbinic mitzvah, Hanukkah is a rabbinic mitzvah. Hanukkah is not a biblical mitzvah. This question is asked by many commentators, many authorities, and there are various answers. So I'll share with you a thought that the Rebbe said, the Rebbe teaches, and it's the Rambam. You know, the Rambam, Maimonides, any serious Jewish scholar, including our Rebbe, if you don't tap into the Rambam, you're not really a serious student. All the great Jewish minds, they took the Rambam and they looked at how the Rambam wrote what he wrote and said what he said, and they were very meticulous about his language. So, for example, the Soloveitchik family, you've heard of Rabbi Soloveitchik, they're known to have not just studied the Rambam, but like he said earlier, kochen sich, which really in English the best word I think is passionate. They were so passionate about the Rambam. And the story that they tell over is that Rabbi Soloveitchik, Rabbi Yasha Ber, Joseph Ber Soloveitchik, who became the Rosh Yeshiva of Yeshiva University and ordained over 2,000 rabbis during his lifetime. So when he was a little boy, young, teenager, whatever, he was learning with his father, Reb Moshe. Moshe was his father's name. And the mother noticed that he was, you are. The mother noticed that he was very distraught, very upset. This little boy, Yasha Ber. And he was crying. Why was he crying? Because he didn't understand something that the Rambam said. So the mother told him, Sorg sich nicht, which means don't worry. Es werden älter, you'll be older, wirst du verstehen den Rambam. You'll understand the pshat in the Rambam. So the Rambam, in the Soloveitchik world, if everything's based on the Rambam. But what I'm saying is it's not just in their world. The real students of Torah looked at the Rambam as the codifier, the halachic codifier that put things into real perspective as far as Jewish law is concerned. It's interesting, just parenthetically, when our Rebbe in 1984 came out with the campaign of learning Rambam, that wasn't the angle that he was coming from. At least not what he said. The Rebbe's push and call to learn the Rambam was to unite the Jewish people, because the Rambam touches every aspect of Jewish law, including those parts that aren't relevant today because we don't have yet the Beis HaMikdash, the Holy Temple. So the Rebbe was coming from a different angle as far as us learning the Rambam. It doesn't exclude the Soloveitchik angle. It's just two different analysis, two different approaches. So anyway, so why am I telling you that? This is all introduction to what the Rambam says about this concept of Yarig Val Yavur. The Rambam says that this idea of allowing yourself to die for a mitzvah applies to a Adam Chashuv, a very important person, even if the mitzvah is not one of the three mitzvahs, but it's even a rabbinic mitzvah. That's a chiddush, that's a novelty. To say that you're obligated to allow yourself to die for a mitzvah, even if it's a rabbinic mitzvah, that's a big stretch. And the Rambam says, yes, you know when? If the person who won't allow himself to die and desecrate the mitzvah is an Adam Choshev, is an important person, people will look at him and say, if he can do it, I can surely do it. Says the Rambam that the Torah law that Yarig Val Yavur applies only to three mitzvahs and nothing else is for a regular person. For a regular person. No one's looking at him. It's like, the rabbi, the Rav, the rabbi, the Dayan, the Jewish judge, the prominent person everyone looks at. What the famous story with the two Hasidic Rebbes knew? One of them was the Rabbi Nachum Mendel, not the Kotzker. Anyway, two Hasid, the Rimanover. One was the Rimanover Rebbe. He was from Galicia, from Poland. And it was Rosh Hashanah. It was time for Tashlich. And Reb Naftali of Ropshitz, thank you, Naftali of Ropshitz, and his student, the Rimanover. So Reb Naftali Ropshitz was returning from Tashlich, and he sees a student running towards him. So he says, Mendel, where are you running? Wo läufst du? He said it with Polish Galician accent. Wie läufst du? Not wo läufst du. Wo is the Russian accent. Wie läufst du? Wie läufst du? Where are you running? Wie läufst du? He says, Rebbe. He says to Rebbe, ich läuf nemen dana avayres. I'm going to the river to pick up all the sins that you just threw into the river, Tashlich. Why? Because for the student, the Rebbe's sins are considered mitzvahs. Why? Because he's a Rebbe. Imagine he's such a tzaddik. What kind of coarse, boorish avedas does he have? He doesn't. A little slight thing here, slight thing. So why am I saying that? Because the imperfection of a regular fellow is not a big deal. But the imperfection of an Adam Choshev, says the Rambam, is serious business. And that's why another parenthetical remark, those people that argue like this, listen, no one is perfect. No one's perfect. You know if a person is perfect. So why do you blame a rabbi? Why do you blame a leader? Why do you blame, a special person? Give him some slack. He's only a human being. Was willst du von them? Mendel Shagalat. And what's the answer? He definitely brings Hanukkah to us. So, was machst du, Mendele?
Thank God. How I heard the warm regards.
So what? So, same here. So why is an Adam Choshev blamed? Why? Because you do expect more of him. This is what the Rambam says. This is very important because people, everyone can say whatever they want, but find me a tighter source that an Adam Choshev has more responsibility. So if you are a Rav, and if you are a rabbi, and if you are a leader, and if you are Rosh Bahag, and if you are some special fellow, yes, people can expect more of you. That's this Rambam. And the Rebbe says, this explains and justifies why it says, Ayidei Kohanecha Hakdoshim. What's the difference Why does it have to say in the Alanisim that who were the ones who led the self-sacrifice? It was Kayanecha Akdoshim. And if it wasn't Kayanecha Akdoshim, it was just Stam Yidden. Imagine a Yid that gives his life for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, for God Almighty. So why do we say Kayanecha Akdoshim? So the Rebbe says that's the reason. Because if it wasn't Kayanecha Kedoshim, it's not Adam Choshev. And if it's not an Adam Choshev, an important person, you have no right doing Yarek Vel Yaveh. You had the word.
You have no right to...
You have no right to allow yourself to be killed and do a mid. But since it's Kayanecha, the holy priests, so that's a word that on the Hanukkah, it's the fifth lichtel. Tonight we lit the fifth candle. And we know that the Hayoim Yoim that was read this morning, that the Tzemach Tzedek made a latke oven, a latke evening, and there was a special celebration on the fifth evening. So why the fifth evening? There are many different reasons given, but simply it's because there is a majority of the days of Hanukkah that have passed. 5. All the other reasons they're reasons, but it's salt and pepper. Let's talk about the meat itself. The meat itself is that it's 5 days. The Mela, the Koyach, the power of Hanukkah is most powerful beginning from tonight, from the 5th Lichtel. And then there's a famous story that the Rebbe, when he met someone and 3 times, the 5th Lichtel, it's all true, but it's salt and pepper. So tonight is the Koyach of Chanukah. What's the Koyach of Chanukah? Well, listen, for anyone that's involved with Chabad and Lubavitch, the Rebbe took this Yom Tiv and really put this Yom Tiv on the map for millions of people. And you'll say, wait a minute. Chanukah, we've been celebrating it. In the camps, they celebrated Chanukah. Right? Yes, of course they celebrated Hanukkah. But what Hanukkah has become a symbol of freedom and relating to people who maybe don't have any other connection is something very, very unique. That the Rebbe definitely, no question about it, accomplished in his Nesias, and it continues today. Like Morty just said, he went to buy the food. And over there, it took out a bandaira, and the owner said, stop to everyone, and they made a chagiga when he's just going to buy food. He's going to buy food. What brings that Hanukkah? Why is it? Because that's what Hanukkah has become. It's no longer an individual's, party. Where's Abishal L'chaim? And then I'll tell you a little bit about. Yeah.
If I can tell you 2 minutes and tell you what happened this evening when you talk about the Rebbe's idea of lighting Hanukkah candles.
Please.
I was in a couple of buildings and in a couple of stores to light the Hanukkah menorah tonight. And one of the buildings that I came, Legala, by the way, how are you?
Yeah.
One of the buildings that I came, so they asked me to do a performance, and the woman who's part of the board of the building is a 90-year-old Jewish woman who actually has for the past 20 years anything Jewish that was in, she's the machriya, anything Jewish that was
she's the arbitrator.
They wanted in the building, so she managed to downplay it, not only to downplay it, to make sure that it shouldn't come through.
Oh.
So I decided that I was going to sing a particular song in honor of her from Fiddler on the Roof. and I sang a blessing on your head, Mazel Tov, and then I sang to her a Pripacek and a Yiddish song, and then I sang her a Spanish operatic song. And I did it all in honor of her.
Beautiful.
No, that's not the story.
I know that.
Beautiful is great. And I left, and I came back an hour and 10 minutes later. So that means the whole procedure was about an hour and a half.
Okay.
She walked up to me, she got up and she said to me, do you mind if I give you a hug? And I said, to her what I said, and then she turned to me and she said to me, this is, I'm repeating her words. I'm a Holocaust survivor. I was my parents were killed, I saw them, and my family, I saw them all get killed in front of me. It was a Christian family that took me in, and I became their child. They shared all the love with me and everything, and they defined and explained to me why I should not love Jews.
Yeah.
I should not love Jews. And so on and so forth. And eventually, this is my life. I'm proud to say that I was born to Jewish parents, but I grew up as a Christian, and that's my holidays, and that's why I'm against you. She says to me, you're the first one that had said to me in my entire life that had said to me that you're dedicating something to me, and not only you did it, but you did it publicly, because I sang her these 3 songs. There were 44 other Jews there, and I counted specifically. After she was crying, and afterwards she walked up to each one of them and apologized, and she said to her, it took me, she says, 77 years to acknowledge the fact that I'm proud to be a Jew.
Wow.
I want you to know tonight is my night where I'm proud.
Beautiful.
This happened tonight.
Man, you know why 44? 44 candles.
Yeah, about it. 44. But this is the story tonight.
What's 44 look for?
3 times.
How many candles we light?
How many candles do we
The
light?
daf's helping
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
We're getting to the history.
Yeah, relax. Listen, my life. L'chaim.
By Mori Vase, as if
No,
I'm
that's
going
not
to
the issue.
take
We
over.
don't-
Okay. L'chaim.
Push the play button.
L'chaim.
Dalfin, we're going back to the Shiva now. And Shishi, we don't speak.
Exactly.
The whole night. The whole thing is going back home.
Okay.
What building are you in?
Where am I?
Yeah.
No, no, this is in another.
Wait, so can you be Meister? So
What
you're
building were you
saying
in?
before you're Meister Nefesh on something that isn't, supposed to be, you have to make a Cheshbon Nefesh and figure out whether you're a righteous person and
Or Kiddush Hashem. Or Kiddush Hashem if it's a minion. But we're never going to be in such a situation.
that's basically the gist.
The Rebbe explains why the lashon of the Kayanecha Akdoshim is because it answers this question that the Mefarshim asked. So it's a very rich insight. By the way, it was told to me by a Polish came over to me. Shul. He says, "Did you see this part of the Rebbe?" Anyway, I'll just share a few thoughts. I'm still under the influence of jet lag. Coming back, I have a hard time with jet lag, so I'm coming back from Poland and Moscow. But I want to talk about Poland, not about Moscow. Mendel can later tell you about Moscow. He's a Russian. I'm a Polak. So I'm going to...
You're not a Polak. You are a Romaner.
No, my mother was a Polak. Sorry.
Let's not go to the mother's
Okay.
side, all right?
By the way, Mendel's mother taught my mother how to be a Lubavitcher woman. Serious. In 1961, 62, she took my mother under her wings, and not only my mother, other women too. That's a whole parsha. That in the beginning, when Lubavitch was forming, it was a very special time, and so we go back as children. We were friends as children. Anyway, I don't want right now latkes. So here's a question that you have to ask yourself. Why is it important? A general question. Why is it important to know about your past? Why is it important to know where you come from? And if you ask young people in particular, most young people will say it's not important. What's important is to know Heint und weiter, today and further. So first, I was thinking about this all day because in the morning they asked me to say a few words. First of all, we are a people of Messiah, of tradition. He just said the fiddler on the roof, right? Tradition. The Messiah, you can't get away from the Messiah. If you leave the Messiah, nothing, you're on your own. And if you want to be on your own, go on your own. And people have gone on their own. But we people who believe in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, in God Almighty, that the Torah is emes, Moshe emes, V'Torah emes, we have a tradition. And the tradition is who we are. Anyone who tries to take the tradition out of themselves is on their own. And listen, you want to be on your own, you can be on your own, but remember, you're stripping yourself from an integral part of your etzem, of your essence of who you are. So,
Rabbi?
Yes?
I'm so sorry to interrupt you. You may already have built in what I'm about to add, so maybe it's redundant, and so I totally apologize. But some people move away from Yiddishkeit because they're lazy and there's no effort, there's no authenticity. Some people, as you know, you just came back from Eastern Europe. There are genuinely wounds there. They're trying to.
I know. Let me talk. All right. Okay. So following along the tradition and the Messiah, every one of us here we come from somewhere. It's not kan nimtza v'kan haya. I'm here. Who are you? I'm here. What's your background? Where do you come from? Well, in my case, there was the chief rabbi of Russia, Rabbi Berelazar, was marrying his daughter to a very good friend of mine, Rabbi Wolansky's son. So Rabbi Wolansky asked me to come.
Classmate.
Yeah, classmate. So he asked me to come. So I said, fine. And I was able to stop off in Poland. There, Rabbi Stamler of the Chabad had a Shabbaton, and he asked me if I can join the staff of rabbis that were teaching. His name is Sholem Ber. So I went already for Shabbos. Once I was there, I reminded myself that my namesake is my grandfather, who was murdered by the Nazis, Yimach Shemon, and my mother was born in Poland, in a town called Makov, which is about 45 minutes outside of Warsaw, Varsha. And my grandmother, and Mendel knew all these people I'm talking about, my grandmother Hinda, Aleh Sholem, she was from a village which is 15 minutes from Makov called Krasnoshilts. So I had an extra day, so I decided, let me see if I can get to these places. In addition to that, I went to a place where our Rebbes, from many of us that went to Lubavitch Yeshiva, learned in Lubavitch Yeshiva in Otfotsk. Otfotsk is a half an hour out, pretty much out of Warsaw. And Otfotsk is where the Frierdiker Rebbe, Rabbi Yosef Yitzchok, the sixth Lubavitch Rebbe, came, and he lived there in 1935. Originally he came to Warsaw, and he stayed from 33 to 35 in Warsaw. And he came to Otfotsk in 35. The main reason he went to Otfotsk, there are various reasons, but the main reason is because of better air. It's not that it's at a higher elevation, like in the Catskills, it's not that way, but there are a lot of trees and forests, and the air pattern, someone explained this to me, is very unique over there in that section, where it's actually a kind of a more refined air. So for the Rebbe, it was very good. Tfotsk was also a place for TB patients. TB. Tuberculosis, yes. In fact, the Moshe Hardenstein, who was a relative married to a Schneerson, he had a home, a group home, where people who were recovering from TB stayed in there. And his son, I believe, Mendel Hardenstein, who was married to the youngest daughter of the Frierdiker Rebbe, Shena, they lived there. They were sent away to Treblinka in 1942, and they never came to America. Anyway, so Otfotsk was somewhere where my teachers and people that learned in the Lubavitch Yeshiva learned over there. So it was interesting to go there to see the building. We thought the building was destroyed by the Nazis. Only 5 years ago, a woman from São Paulo, Brazil, named Silo Rosenfeld, was in Poland researching. She's a researcher, a historian, and she came across the building. Rabbi Beryl Levin, the main historian and librarian of Lubavitch in New York, was shocked to hear. He thought it was destroyed. Why he didn't do his own research, I don't know. But he just thought the building was destroyed, and to his amazement, the building stands intact. And I was there.
So which building?
This is the Otfotsk Yeshiva. Good. Number 22 is Spitzianske, whatever the name of the street is. It's a dirt road leading in to the street. The Frierdiker Rebbe lived about, I would say, 15, 20-minute walk on a street called Prusa Street. Number 6 Prusa, which today is one side a hospital and the other side an empty field. So the house doesn't stand. The Rebbe lived over there, the Frierdiker Rebbe. And the yeshiva was about 15, 20 minutes away on this street. So to go to the shiva was very, very important for me, and to go inside was even more important. But how do you get inside when you have now tenants there? The city of Tvatsk owned the building until about 5 years ago, and then it was bought by a private person. I heard from Silo that at the time when she was there was actually a Lubavitcher with a son from Miami. I don't know who it is. I'm trying to find out. But I don't know yet who it is. Wanted to buy the house and give it to Chabad. And they hired an advocate. They hired a lawyer. But they did not buy it because the price that was wanted they felt too much, and they never bought it. And hence it does not belong to us. The building still stands. Actually, it's a very large property. And the backyard opens up to this beautiful forest. And it was a great place for the Bachurim to meditate and to learn. I mean, it's beautiful. Trees and grass, very beautiful. In Poland? Outside of Warsaw, half an hour outside of Warsaw, it's called Otwock, Otwock, in Poland. So, what did I find in all of these places that I went to? Well, first thing I found was that the atrocities that took place, as we all know, are beyond comprehension. But that wasn't my focus, because if that was my focus, I wouldn't make it through the first day. What we have today is what I found, and my son-in-law Yossi and I discussed it. He says his experience was different, but my experience, I did not find anti-Semitism. Again, I was only there for a few days, but my experience is I was welcomed everywhere and felt so comfortable. In fact, Warsaw is so clean, it's so white. I'm not joking. There's no, other denominations of all sorts where you have in Amsterdam. In Amsterdam, I was once on the train station. I thought they would push me into the train. I was surrounded by Muslims all over. I didn't see any of that in Warsaw. I didn't see any black people. I didn't see any. I just saw it was very, very calm, clean. Well, I mean, Aryans are Germans. Could be. But this is the point. The point is that we went and spoke to the people in the city hall. First, they tell me I wanted my mother's record. Are there any records? So she says, "What's the name? What's the year?" I give her information, and then she gave the information. First, said she's not allowed to. You smile at them one way, the other way. I had 2 Polish people with me. A historian with me and someone else, a woman who works in the cultural center, and they were cooperative. We went to the city called Makov Mazowiecz, which is where my mother was born. We never knew our family the real birth date. I don't know if it's only Polish people, I don't know if Russian people and Hungarian did the same thing, but they also didn't know, but some of them knew, but they didn't want to say for some reason. So I grew up in that type of environment, and I really wanted to know when my mother was born. And lo and behold, the lady takes out a book, the pages are brown, and it's a book from pre-war, and she says, and she covered the other part of the page, so I can't read Polish, but she doesn't know that. And then right there in front of me is the birth record of my mother, that her parents, who I'm named after, came a year, 13 months after she was born, and they documented that they had a girl, Miriam is my mother's name, on this and this date, August 14th, I think, 1936, and now I have a date. Okay, a big deal. Big deal.
Not Miriam, it's Mariam.
Yeah, Mariam. Mariam was the Polish way of saying it. But what's the point? What's the point I'm getting at? Is that, a person, at least I talk for myself, a person feels more complete, more wholesome, okay? A better word in English is wholesomeness. More wholesome when you see a progression coming from here to there to here. You see a continuum. So then you start wondering, well, what type of community was this Makov? And then you hear that 80% were frum. 80%. 5,000 people, I think about 70-80% were Jewish, and not only that, 80% was frum. So that's interesting. Okay. Was there Bundes? Yes, there were. Were the Yiddishisten? Yes, there were. Were they religious? No, they weren't. Many of them. But nevertheless, what about the Hasidus in the town? Oh, they had 3 strong groups of Hasidim. Amshinover Hasidim, Alexander Hasidim, and Gerer Hasidim. Gur Ger, right? They were the primary Hasidim, then Kotsk a little bit. Okay.
Shows?
I'm sorry?
Shows?
So that was there. Now, from there we went over to this Krasnashilts, which is a village. So in Krasnashilts there was a shul. When we asked our grandmother, what happened to her husband, who I'm named after, she says, well, the first week of the war, the Germans killed him and 50, 60, 70 other people. So that was very interesting because they weren't doing that the first week of the war. They were bombing. The first mass execution of Jews was in Krasnashilts, was in this little village where my grandmother was married and was raised. And her husband was the victim, with others, of this mass. September 5 or 6, 1939, the war broke out when? Friday, September 1. 5 days later, the SS decided to do a mass execution. They put them all into the shul and they shot them out. And someone wrote up, the blood was flowing, etc. 31 of those names are known because there's a monument now in the back. They did a mass grave, and I believe that my grandfather is there, although he's not on that mass grave name. There's only 31, but there were 50 to 75 people killed. I believe he was one of them. The shul, I was in there. It's not a shul. It became not a barn, but it became a place which is storage for corn. Corn, silo, thank you. But I looked up and I saw they fixed it up, the inside. The outside still looks like the original, or part of the original. A window which looks to be from the old shul. I took with me a historian, a Polish historian, who was an expert in cemeteries, who identified, by the way, all those kvarim, those gravestones in Lubavitch, which is already, in Russia, Belarus, or whatever. And he's an expert in graves. And I turned around, this was like 2 PM, and I see him crying. His name was Chris.
He went with you on this whole trip?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. I had arranged before to have a driver and have him, and there was a team of 3 of us, and we were moving. We were going, it was, what I'm saying, and we were just going from place to place. So this guy, Chris, I see him crying. So I say, Chris, what are you crying for? He says, look what they did to the shul. I wasn't crying because I was, in working mode, and I couldn't allow myself to go that way. And he was taking pictures, and he said, look what they did to a Jewish shul. Just interesting, a guy, but he has a sensitivity to that. So there too, destruction, no remnant, right? I mean, the outside, but the mass grave is not there. Going back to Makov, the cemetery is a paved parking lot. It used to be for buses, not buses. Don't take off from there, but I was there. So, there is mass destruction, but this is a place where Yidden lived, and Yidden thrived. For example, I found out from the document of my grandmother's wedding that the rabbi who married her was Reb Isaac Yosef Zilberberg. And who was this Reb Isaac Yosef Zilberberg? He was the Kli Chemder, Reb Meir Dom Polotsky, who was a known personality, his son-in-law. So, Stam, I'm just saying that, I never knew who was the rabbi that married my grandmother. But now I know. In other words, to me, this puts the pieces of a puzzle. Believe me, there's still pieces that need to be put together, but at least I'm seeing that there's a piece of a puzzle coming together. In other words, growing up, I didn't really know. My grandmother, she said she came from home. I believed her. I have proof that the Rav of the shul was a massive Talmud Chacham, and a Heilige Yid was Masada Kedushin, officiated her marriage, my grandmother's marriage. So ultimately, I come from, right, my mother, grandmother. There's a tradition. There's a Messiah. It puts you back to a picture where you see that Yiddishkeit, that Judaism, is not just parts. It's a wholesome picture, and you're in the picture. And therefore, if you get a chance to visit places like this, I think it is an important thing to take some time, and especially if you're going with children or grandchildren, to have them see this, because it's very powerful. It's very powerful that they should know that there's a larger picture than just what there is today. Understandably, what's here today and the future is the most important, right? But what you learn from history, what you take from history, and that's why people always ask me, like, why are you so passionate about history? My brother, my own brother, my youngest brother, we met today, came over. He said to my wife, he said, like, why is Chaim, why is he so obsessed with this trip that he went on? And I'm in touch with these people in Poland, and I'm on their WhatsApp, and they're going to City Hall, and we're trying to figure this out. What are you going to get from all this? You're going to have more ruchnias. You're going to have more tzedakah. You're going to have more. What's going on? Unless you're into history, you'll never understand it. You'll never understand it.
It's a good fundraising pitch.
It's not fundraising. What fundraising? I'm not. Maybe one day we can use it for fundraising, but not. To me, it's not about just knowing historical facts. Again, it is showing the continuity and the connection to Am Yisrael. Next to the Kosel, right? Right there, they have that. They made a new display, right? They show the generations. So I asked when it came out, what do you spend millions of dollars with the high tech? And they told me that for many, many people, Jews and non-Jews, showing the continuation of the chain of Yiddishkeit, from Adam, Avram, our ancestors, patriarchs and matriarchs, till today. For a lot of people, this makes a big change in their life. There's another issue that I want to mention, which is more for those that are inclined to the mystical part of Judaism. There have been people that over the years have told me, they feel that they have a soul from the Holocaust. Have you ever heard someone say that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, I'm not going to go into this. This is a whole field in Kabbalah called transmigration of souls and repression and repression therapy. And there's a lot to talk about it, but it's not for now. But we do have sources in Tanakh and sources in Kabbalah for sure that people do have souls or aspects of souls that have been from previous Gilgulim and previous incarnations. So the famous story that the Rebbe said, our Rebbe said, Simchas Torah, 1974, the Rebbe that year, or 75, his mother's yahrzeit, Rebbe Tzimchana Schneerson, was Motzei Shabbos, and it was 10 years from the day when she passed away, right? Tavshin Chafei to Tavshin Lamed Hey, 10 years. And the Rebbe called a surprise Farbrengen. I'm sorry, the Farbrengen was not a surprise, but he said he wants to wash at the Farbrengen. That was a surprise. Because normally during a weekday Farbrengen, the Rebbe didn't wash. He had Mezainis, L'chaim. So everyone thought that, you know why he's washing? Because it's 10 years from his mother's yard site. For 10 years, it's a significant date. Well, at the Farbrengen, the Rebbe made a siyum on tractate Sukkah. And the Gemara says over there a story with Miriam Bas Bilga, this woman who was a Bas Kohen. She came from a Kohanic family. And Miriam Bas Bilga was punished that she and her family got stale bread from the Beis Hamikdash because she married out of the faith. The Rebbe made a siyum. He concluded the tractate because he did that for every yard site of his father's mother. But then he did, Lucas, yeah. The Rebbe made a 180-degree interpretation of the Gemara that threw everyone for a loop at the Farbrengen, and then the 2 weeks after. The Rebbe said that Miriam Bas Bilga was a holy woman because she took her shoe and she banged it on the altar and she said, Lucas, fox, sandal, what are you doing here? And she turns to God, how can you allow this to happen to the Jewish people, such destruction? And foxes are wandering on the holy, place of the Temple Mount. And the Rebbe just kind of spoke positively about this lady. When the Gemara, if you learn the simple meaning of the Gemara speaks negatively about her. And that's why she and her family were punished to get stale bread from the Lechem Aponim. Comes to Lubavitcher Rebbe. Simchas Torah, 2 weeks after this Farbrengen, the Rebbe said during the Farbrengen, they've been sending me letters, Zetlach, notes, and they've been asking, how can you say such interpretation in the Gemara? When the Gemara means to show how bad she is, and you, the Lubavitcher Rebbe, say how she's good. She's so concerned about the Jewish people.
After the Farbrengen?
This was during the Farbrengen. The Rebbe was, what?
They say, when did they send it? 2 weeks. The whole world was
Yeah, the Rebbe interpreted the Gemara on Vav Tishrei, his mother's yard site. And at the Simchas Torah Farbrengen, which is 2 weeks later, he said, I've been getting these notes and letters complaining about the way I interpreted the Gemara. And the Rebbe then answered the question with the following story. And this is the connection to souls and reincarnation and all that. The Rebbe said that a Jew once came to the Alter Rebbe, the founder of the Chabad movement, and he said to the Alter Rebbe, you have to allow me and grant a divorce. I want to get divorced from my wife. No, sorry, wrong story. That's another story which I don't want to tell. That's the wrong story.
No, that's good.
No, not for now.
Are you kidding? Nobody here is...
No.
When Nachman comes and tells us how this is his divorce.
So, no, what happened is, the person says to the Alter Rebbe, I can't handle it anymore. Genug, I can't. I got to get out of this marriage. The Alter Rebbe says, I'm sorry. Try again. Another few months, comes back and says, Rebbe, I got to get out of the marriage. It's gefährlich, terrible. The Alter Rebbe says, okay, I see. I have to tell you something. He looks at him and he says, there was a Navi called Zechariah Navi, Zechariah the prophet. Zechariah Hanavi was murdered by 2 Jews. You know why? Because he was about to say a prophecy that if the Yidden don't do tshuva, they're going to die. And the halacha is, the law is, that when a prophet says a prophecy, good or no good, it must be fulfilled. That's the Jewish law according to the Rambam. According to others too, but the Rambam rules this way. So these 2 Jews got up, and before he can utter the prophecy that if the Jews don't do tshuva, they're going to die, they stabbed him, they killed him. This is in Tanakh.
How did they know? what he was going to say.
Oh, he already gave them a warning.
Right, he gave him a warning.
He gave them a warning before.
How did they know that wasn't a prophecy?
Okay.
No, I'm just.
He discussed it.
I don't know how prophecies work. You know.
I don't know. I don't know how they know. And
No, it talks in Tanakh and it says that he had a discussion with them and he told them that he was going to tell Klal Yisrael about that. and
yeah.
so on.
Okay. So the Alter Rebbe says to this gentleman,
So wait, so they killed him?
they killed him because they didn't want him to say the prophecy. So the Alter Rebbe said to this person, "You have the neshama of one of those fellows, and this is a tshuva for you. Your wife nagging you and driving you crazy is a tshuva for that avera.
What does tshuva mean?
Killing
A return. It's you're returning to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, returning to God Almighty. In other words, okay. This is every time she nudges you, it takes away a little bit of that sin from 2,000 years ago.
It's called your purification.
Yes, and the Rebbe said this as a response to the question that he was asked about Miriam Bas Bilga. In other words, and this the Rebbe didn't say, but we understood that Miriam Bas Bilga was 2,000 years in a Gilgul. Came along the Lubavitcher Rebbe in Tafshin Lamed Hey on his mother's yahrzeit, and he took her out of the Gilgul. How did he take her out of the Gilgul? By speaking positive. He was Melamed Zchus. And there's a makkah for it in Kisvi Arizal. There's a source that when you speak, you're Melamed Zchus about someone else. You turn the negative into the positive. It's such a powerful thing that you can even take out a Gilgul of 2,000 years.
So she was just being reincarnated, and then the Rebbe said, and then she
Rabbi,
stopped.
Again, the Rebbe didn't say all those words, but that's the implication.
That's the coolest thing I ever heard.
What?
Listen to this for a second. It's 4 minutes.
Okay.
Okay, is it a niggin?
Musical break.
Intermission.
Chaim.
Chaim.
Listen.
Oh, it's Ruvi Nu.
He wrote the lyrics.
Oh, beautiful.
Daughter of Ruby News.
Ruvi Nu. Coming next week. Ask him to sing next week.
In that commercial.
Wait till it comes up to the Rebbe. The Rebbe.
ESAT, look it up.
Benny singing.
Who- Oh, Benny singing.
He wrote the words. Then it goes over.
What?
Very nice.
What
Yasher
are you
koach.
No, but does it say? Okay.
That's what the Rebbe's Chiddush was. that she did this, she was almost like Meiser Nefesh, that the Eibusher should help the people. Basically, the women were killing people left and right.
Wow.
Yeah. What happened to wo ist gegangen? The Baal Simcha.
So that's a pshat.
He's here. He's cooking a soup.
Oh, it's
So that's a pshat that can be said like it flies in the face of what Chazal said. I'm saying it's just a deep.
The Rebbe is not contradicting.
Right.
The Rebbe is giving us a ruchnisdike insight into. It's not, they asked the they asked the Rebbe. They were saying, "You're making a siyum on the Gemara. Say the pshat." You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So the Rebbe, without saying this, of course, he was saying the pshat. He knows the pshat, but he's saying, "What's the message?" There's a deeper message, so it's not a contradiction.
No, she did
Right,
something.
she did something wrong. She did something wrong.
Oh, right.
Sacrificed
Just
herself.
right.
Something wrong to help others.
Right. In a sense, like these guys that killed Zechariah. In a sense, they wanted to save the Yidden. They didn't want Yidden to die.
Yeah,
In a sense, I'm saying that's what
Yeah.
they brought that story from the Alter
Yeah.
because
Yes.
he gave Dam L'Kaf Schus to those guys that kind of, in a sense, they did something horrendous. They
Right.
killed Zechariah, but they prevented other Yidden from dying.
Right, correct. No, you shouldn't get into dein Soup, jetzt durch das Sitzen, so geben L'chaim.
I finish with the soup. The soup is going to be ready actually 5 minutes. I'm going to say L'chaim, Rabbi Miller.
Miller, give him.
Miller L'chaim. Okay. So,
Chaim, L'chaim.
L'chaim.
What's the L'chaim in honor of?
Don't spill it on everybody's office.
I won't.
L'chaim is honor of, today we all know that's the 5th day.
No,
Hanukkah.
yeah,
So yesterday we were even. 4 and 4.
right,
Today we're taking over the darkness.
right, it's the majority.
So what happened to me in my personal life, we all know, you all know what I'm going through.
Saying now he's doing
And something happened lately in the last couple of days. And it's thanks to somebody from a member of the synagogue. I'm not going to say his name. He doesn't want to be this. He's a very busy man, but he find a couple minutes for me too, in between. And I call it as a miracle. Why? I cannot afford to have a lawyer, so I took a pro bono lawyer. He's a very nice guy. He tries his best. Couple times not a couple times, so many times we went to court. We're sitting in the courthouse.